So our next topic is going to be about the Oscars, specifically how uh, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences have decided to um, include a diversity criteria, most likely as a response to the whole Oscars so white um, hashtag that's been going on for a few years now. So I am going to read off what those new um, requirements are. I know Zeus hasn't had the chance to see this, so we're basically going to be reacting to it semi-live. Okay, so this says that this applies for the 2024 Oscars. So this is the 96th Oscars.
2024.
2024 and onwards, yeah. So if you're made in the next 3 years, you're good. You don't have to think of diversity.
Why? Why you gotta wait till then? All you're doing is nominating people.
Well, they want to give them time to start making movies with this in mind, right? Because they haven't been doing that, right? So, all right.
Real quickly, before you get into that, am I the only one that finds it annoying that stars have to campaign? You heard that, right? Like where they have to campaign for their Oscar nomination for them to get voted as like the best actor or whatever. I just feel like it's kind of like, I don't know. I think it's disingenuous. I'm like,
your thing might be cutting out again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you said about the stars campaigning, and you think
having to campaign for the Oscar win.
Well, yeah. I know what you mean, right? The schmoozing and going through the talk show circuits, and I know one thing I heard about Harvey Weinstein is like he would usually go and like screen his films at like some nursing homes that are known to have like these older academy voters. Yeah, because
Really?
Yeah, because you never really lose your academy
that's crazy.
voting privileges, which is something that they really should look into. Like if you haven't been in or around the business in some capacity in like the last 20 years, maybe you shouldn't vote. Because I don't know. But I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm just saying it's one of those things they should look into. But yeah, they've been doing that for a while, like doing the different type of campaigns. There's some people that win that you're like, how did this person win? Like,
how does somebody like just because Eddie Murphy released Norbit should not have lost Dreamgirls to Alan Arkin?
Right.
So Alan Arkin did a good performance, but everyone knew that Eddie Murphy should have won that Oscar.
Yeah. Hell, Denzel should have won for Fences. I think. I think that was one of his best performances.
Which one?
Fences. The one Viola Davis won the supporting actress. You didn't like that movie?
I liked the movie, but I actually didn't like. I didn't think it was Denzel's great. I don't think it was a great Denzel performance.
Have you seen Manchester by the Sea? Because that's the one that won.
I have seen Manchester by the Sea, and I'm sorry, but I would actually agree with
Casey Affleck. Okay.
Casey Affleck winning over Denzel just because that performance was hella raw, and it was. I just what I think with Fences is, I think it was hard for me to see it. You could tell that it was a play being made into a movie. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that I got, and it's kind of like Viola Davis is just Viola Davis. She everyone loves her, especially with the snot-filled cries that she always does. It's just so her win I definitely got, but no, I'd say Denzel probably should have won for Malcolm X.
Okay. Well, this is why we vote, right? So this is why you should have a broad range of Oscar voters.
Dakota Fanning, who's part of the Academy, really should be voting on best sound editing or best,
Well, no, that's a very good point you bring up, right? Because this is the same issue I've had with the Grammys, for instance, where it seems like there's a lot of people who know a lot about like bluegrass.
Yeah.
And they're the ones also voting on the hip hop categories.
Or you know who won the first best metal album?
No.
Kenny G. Because he has a metal flute. He won the best.
Funny. So
he won the first, and then on the next year, Metallica won because I guess they figured it out. And Lars Ulrich was like, "Thank you, Kenny G, for not releasing an album this year."
That's funny. So yeah, it's like I feel like maybe there should be a subset of people voting on these individual awards, and then
I
like
mean, let people who are producers who do productions for a bunch of movies or are involved in that, let them do the sound editing votes.
right.
Let the costume designers do costume designs and all that stuff.
Right. So it should be a subset of like your peers or whatever, and then maybe the big award, because the best picture is the holistic
Yeah.
awards. Same thing with the Grammys, the best album or whatever is the
Best
holistic award.
director. Yeah,
Then
that
you
makes sense that
then
you
you
would vote.
have everyone come in and vote. So that yeah, I agree with you on that. All
So
right.
anyway, sorry about that
Yeah,
sidebar.
yeah, no problem. So here are the new representation criteria that have been established. It says for the 96 Oscars 2024, a film must meet 2 out of 4 of the following standards to be deemed eligible. Standard A, on-screen representation, themes, and narratives. To achieve standard A, the film must meet one of the following criteria. A1, lead or significant supporting actress, lead or significant supporting actors. At least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. Asian, Hispanic slash Latinx, I know you love that term.
Oh,
Black slash African American, Indigenous, Native American, Alaskan Native, Middle Eastern, North African, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, other underrepresented race or ethnicity. Right.
is
So
LGBTQ somewhere in there?
it's probably coming up.
Okay.
So A2, general ensemble cast. At least 30% of all actors in secondary or more minor roles are from at least 2 of the following underrepresented group. Women, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ plus, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing. And A3, main storyline subject matter. The main storyline or storylines, theme or narrative of the film is centered on an underrepresented group. Women, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ plus, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing. So for standard A, it says that the film must meet one of the following criteria for you to qualify as having passed standard A.
Yeah, I guess because you can't really see someone being part of the LGBTQ community, right? You really can't see them.
Well, yeah.
That's probably why they included it in the storyline part.
Yeah, exactly. For A3, if the storyline is about LGBTQ plus, it would meet the criteria of standard A.
Can I ask you a question?
Or yeah.
Do you think Tyler Perry is licking his chops now? He's like, I can start getting some of these Oscars.
Why?
Because his are obviously all his movies have the underrepresented.
Racial, and that's
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
like
you're right.
he's just like, yo, Medea's gonna get an Oscar.
So anyway, so that's standard A. Standard B, creative leadership or project team. To achieve standard B, the film must meet one of the following criteria: creative leadership and department heads. At least 2 of the following creative leadership positions and department heads. That's casting director, cinematographer, composer, costume designer, director, editor, hairstylist, makeup artist, producer, production design, set decorator, sound, VFX supervisor, writer are from the following underrepresented groups: women, racial and ethnic group, LGBTQ plus, people with cognitive or physical disabilities. So they said at least 2 of those leadership positions. So it can be your production designer and set decorator, or your sound and VFX.
Basically, somebody in charge of something.
Yeah, two of them. And then it said at least one of those positions must belong to the following underrepresented racial or ethnic group: Asian. Oh, wow. So hold on. So at least one, is it one of the 2? Okay, so you have to have 2 that are either woman or racial ethnic group LGBTQ plus, and then you have to have one that's like Asian or Hispanic or Black or all those other races I mentioned earlier. Okay. B2, other key roles. At least 6 other crew, team, and technical positions, excluding production assistants, are from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. These positions include, but are not limited to, first assistant director, gaffer, script supervisor, etc. Overall crew composition, that's B3. At least 30% of the film's crew is from the following underrepresented groups: women, racial ethnic group, LGBTQ plus, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing. So that's standard B, right? You have to meet one of those. There's two more standards, C and D. Okay, so standard C, industry access and opportunities. To achieve standard C, the film must meet both criteria below. C1, paid apprenticeship and internship opportunities. The film's distribution or financing company has paid apprenticeships or internships that are from the following underrepresented groups and satisfy the criteria below: women, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ plus, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing. It says the major studios are required to have substantive, ongoing paid internships inclusive of those groups in most of the following departments: production development, physical production, post-production, music, VFX, so on and so forth. And then C2 is training opportunities and skill development. So the film's production or financing company must offer training or work opportunities for the below line skill development to people from the following underrepresented groups: racial, LGBTQ plus, women, yada yada. All right. So yes.
How much more is there?
There's one more standard.
Okay, I was gonna say, because we probably should have read this before.
Yeah. And then standard D, representation in marketing, publicity, and distribution.
Okay.
Same groups: women, racial, ethnic groups, LGBTQ plus, people with cognitive or physical disabilities. It says the studio or film company has multiple in-house senior executives in their marketing and distribution teams, and those are the criteria. So basically, in order to qualify in 2024 onwards, you have to meet two of the four standards.
Overall, like, oh wait, I was thinking that this was kind of like a category. No, you're saying that this is, in order for you to be nominated for the best picture, you have to have one of these two criteria. Like
you have to have two of the four standards.
Oh wow, okay. Oh wow, that's actually pretty incredible. Actually, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So so like in one of them, you only need one of the criteria. The other ones you only need.
I ain't gonna lie, I was being a little bit facetious on my end, thinking this is just another, this isn't like, so in pre-production, Zino mentioned this, and I told him that it kind of off the bat I thought about it because of the Rooney Rule in the NFL. So if a lot of you don't know what the Rooney Rule in the NFL is whenever there's a head coaching position available or an executive position available, you have to interview one person of color. And the reason it's called the Rooney Rule is because what's his first name? Mark Rooney? Dan Rooney?
I don't know.
The Rooney family, they own the Steelers, and they some of them also own the New York Giants, I believe. And they always made sure to include people of color. They were one of the very few first to start interviewing people of color for head coaching positions and whatnot. So it's called the Rooney Rule because they implemented it where a team has to interview a person of color in order to do in order for you to be able to pick your next head coach. But it's not required that you hire a person of color, right? So the Rooney Rule, although it's great in theory, in practice, it still results in, like, say the offensive coordinator from the Kansas City Chiefs didn't even get an interview because they had already met their quota. Other teams had already met their quotas in regards to person of color, right? But everybody was, like, surprised that he didn't become a head coach. So this is actually a much better way. I would say, I'm saying all that just to basically say, like, I was going to think that what you were reading off was going to be great in principle or in theory, but in practice it wouldn't be. But if you can't be nominated for a best picture because you didn't do this kind of stuff, then it is forcing the industry to move in towards inclusion. So that actually, I'm not going to lie, that's actually something to me, it's extreme. It is kind of extreme in a sense, it's amazing, actually. I think it's actually a great thing.
One thing I've heard, one potential complaint I've heard from people is that, well, this would eliminate period pieces from contention, like 1917.
No.
That's incorrect, because you can complete one of these other standards where it's like behind the
on the back
camera.
end.
Yeah, the
King,
creative leadership project
what was
team.
it? King Arthur, which has had nothing but white cast. It had no black people, no persons of color. Was directed by Anton Fuqua.
Mm-hmm.
Fuqua?
Fuqua, yeah.
I used to call him something else. I used to say
Yeah.
it's something else. I'm jokingly, but
He's
not
not
disrespect to him.
He's not cursing. He's saying
yeah,
Fuqua.
Fuqua. So, anyways, he directed that. So no, that's incorrect. Like then that just means you get a period piece. Well, you better make sure you hire a black director or hire a production company.
Or hire like people of color or women to do your marketing, because that's a people don't understand that marketing has been a big issue for people of color in Hollywood, right? Like when you see posters that basically minimize the black cast member in the poster, because we've seen this in like the Chinese markets for these Marvel movies, where they reduce the size of not Marvel, Star Wars. They reduced the size of Finn in the
he spoke on that too, though,
in the Star Wars poster. Yeah, he may have. He's very vocal.
No, he did. He spoke on that. He said that they reduced his character. Basically saying, you reduced my character from being a possible hero to basically being like,
Well, yeah. I'm not even talking about like the film.
No, but I know what you mean, like marketing. Like they would have the photo of him and Poe and all the other characters, and he'd be like down here, even though he's a significant part.
So in the Chinese market, they did that. They you can see the difference in the posters. You see the American poster, you see the Chinese poster, and I wonder if a black person was the head of marketing would say, you know what, screw if they're not going to see our movie in China because we have a prominent black cast member. We're still going to put them out there. So this is where it does help to have a different, representation when it comes to marketing and publicity. I actually like these rules. I hadn't read into it as much as I did just now, where I basically read the library to you guys. But yeah, I think it could be positive for.
Yeah, I actually think it would be, and it can allow for more stories that haven't been told or won't be told. Because one of the things that I see a big problem in Hollywood is stories of Latinos or Latinx, like people like to say, aren't being told by Latinos, which is the term Latinx is actually a good example of that, right? If you watch any of these shows that are predominantly Hispanic on Netflix, you'll notice that the writers are usually white. Or at least the names aren't Hispanic, right? Maybe I'm being ignorant and the names aren't Hispanic because a person married somebody that's not Hispanic, or they don't have but they're still Hispanic, even though they don't have a Hispanic name. But it makes me think instantly that, yeah, you're telling the story, but you're telling the story a bit of as an outsider. I don't know if Black Hollywood had to deal with this too, where it was people who weren't Black telling their stories, that it wasn't as proper representation as it was. I'm pretty sure it was back in the day. It was like that.
For sure. Yeah.
Or where if you really wanted your story to be told, it had to be told as a Black exploitation movie. You know what I mean? Like that was the only way that Black writers and Black directors and Black actors were getting a shot at watching is Black exploitation, right? Yeah. That's one thing that I did notice, because the thing is, though, the term Latinx came out of nowhere, and I know I hate on it, but I have my dislike towards that term is actually kind of ingrained into the whole idea to me that the Latino identity is being created by groups that aren't Latino. Because if you ask me off the bat, who do I think created that term, I would say it was probably a white person. Honestly, I really do. I think it's just because Latinx doesn't make sense to Latinos. It really doesn't. And I think I shared do you remember the article that I shared with you where it was talking about how Latino people don't like the term Latinx? The journalist was white, and she kept referring, even though her title was literally Latinos don't like the term Latinx, she kept referring to Latinos as Latinx throughout her entire article.
Yeah. You know what I think it is, though? It's one of those, trying to be respectful, but then you end up crossing the line into just being disrespectful. Like you try to be respectful, and then you end up disrespecting the wishes of the very people you're trying to be respectful to.
Yeah, and if there's somebody who's non-binary who really does like the term Latinx, then that's great. I will call you a Latinx out of respect for you.
Yeah.
But don't try to force that term on everybody, because the first time I ever heard that term was from a white guy. It was like, he was a Latin, and I was like, what the hell is that? And he explained it to me, and I was like, yeah, just call me Latino. Like, that's just, maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm old. I'm 30, I'm 30, you know, I'm one of these, I'm too stuck in my ways. Maybe I won't change. I'm old. Maybe my kids will be okay with the term Latinx, but I'm just like, just use Latinos. But anyways, this will hopefully allow people like myself to create stories, you know, that I could talk about the, you know, the hardships of being called Latinx when you don't want to, you know. Write my own stories, you know. People get to write, but I like this because it just it allows you to, it allows people of color who are marginalized in these industries, who already, first of all, a lot of this industry is just, I heard that industry is just a really difficult industry to get into in the first place.
Standard C, industry access and opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. You can only imagine what it's like to actually get into that business, especially if you're already a minority or something within yourself, within your own group. So I like it. I actually do like it. Actually, I'm pleasantly surprised at this rule.
All right, cool. Guess we're in agreement. Good job, Academy. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah, don't worry. The next 2 years, you can still vote. You can still have only white people get nominated.
Now imagine if all of these guys decide, you know what, we're just gonna skip standard A completely and work on B, C, and D. They just
we'll just make sure our marketing team is good, and our writing staff is good.
Standard A is the part about on-screen representation, themes, and narratives. They could be like, we only need 2 out of 4, so F that.
Yeah, we can still keep churning out Gods of Egypt.
Yeah. Oh God. All right. So cool. Good job, Academy. Let's see how this works out in the next 4 years. All right.